Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MaxPreps Friday Night Live, presented by American Family Insurance. I am your host, Joanna Gomez, and thank you for tuning in this evening.
What a great show we have in store for you, not only tonight, but for the Friday nights to come, and we're going to take you right coast to left coast, east coast to west coast. I'm Jason Alpert, and we're going to give you everything high school football your heart can desire.
Yes, and also joining us here in the studio, very, very happy to have you here. He's MaxPreps.com national football editor, Steve Spiewak. You know, normally you're in Chi-Town, but now you're right here with us in South Florida.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It doesn't quite feel like football weather, minus the 55 degrees in the wind that we have up in Chicago tonight.
But you're enjoying this just a little, right?
I am, absolutely.
Different pace for you. You're going to talk about the big game out west, but before we get to that, we've got some updates on some scores. We got Parkview versus Grayson. What's going on? That game just ended, right?
This game just went final. Grayson, the nation's number 2 football team, was stunned, and this is a major upset, 22-7 to a Parkview team that lost 20-0 last week. Grayson has had some offensive issues in the past. They did average over 30 points in their first 2 wins. They came out a little flat and they lost 22-7. So the nation's number 2 team will be moving down come the rankings on Monday.
All right. Well, let's talk about that big game out west. We got Bishop Gorman versus Bergen Catholic. Everyone's talking about this one.
Yeah, so these are our number 10 and number 11 teams. It's the biggest game in the country this week, and it's kind of a matchup between 2 premier quarterbacks. Bergen Catholic has John Germano. He's a senior. This is his second year starting in Nunzio Campanelli's offense. Threw for over 2,000 yards and 30 touchdowns last year. He's also mobile, can move with the pocket. He's a great leader. I think that's what stands out most to the Bergen Catholic guys is he has poise and he can run the team's offense.
And how about this? This is a guy who doesn't only do it through the air, he can also get it done on the ground. 31 touchdown passes a year ago, but also 6 on the ground. So a dual threat at the quarterback for Bergen Catholic.
Yeah, and then Bishop Gorman has a guy that is also a very highly talented, highly touted quarterback, Anu Solomon. He's a 4-year starter for the Gales, and what's interesting is his rise has kind of mirrored the national rise of Bishop Gorman. He's kind of taken this team to new heights. He's committed to Arizona. He'll fit in perfectly in Rich Rodriguez's offense. He's actually even more mobile than Solomon, and it's really going to be interesting to see how Bergen Catholic's defense can slow him down.
And Solomon, how about this one? This is an interesting point about him. Nunzio Campanelli, you mentioned the coach of Bergen Catholic. He coached Solomon on the under-19 USA football team, so very familiar with the quarterback he's going up against tonight.
And it's interesting, these rise of national interstate high school football games. I asked Nunzio Campanelli about traveling out to Las Vegas, hopping on the flight from Newark to Las Vegas over 4 hours in the air. I said, will you be tired? Will you guys be a little fatigued? And
yes,
what he told me,
that would be my answer. Yes,
you and I both. But what he said was they're gaining 3 hours. Yeah. And for a teenager coming from Bergen Catholic in New Jersey, that's 10 o'clock their time. He says teenagers are ready to rock and roll at 10 p.m.
I don't even think it's the fact that they're just teenagers, but also the hype of such a big game. You have all that excitement. You're getting ready. There's no way that at that point you're just going to, slow down a bit, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's no doubt. They're ready to go. They're ready to party. But I tell you, the night's going to be much better for whichever team wins. That's really when the energy and the adrenaline kicks in.
It's a long flight home if you don't come out with the W.
No doubt.
Oh, say that again. Love your perspective, but you know what? We actually have MaxPreps reporter Scott Hargrove. He's actually out in Las Vegas. And Scott, I have to ask you, I hope you're doing good at the tables. How is the vibe out there in Vegas?
The vibe out here is unbelievable. It's like a college atmosphere out here. It's a total sellout crowd. And I tell you what, this stadium is state-of-the-art. I don't think it gets much better than this.
Scott, this is Jason Alpert here. I tell you, we heard a story about the fact that the 2 teams actually got together last night. That doesn't happen very often, maybe with local teams, but coming from out of town, the 2 teams actually came together. How did that happen last night?
Yeah, they actually got together up in the field house. They have a big banquet room up there, and they got together and had dinner together and actually sat at the same tables with each other. And sort of just talked about the difference between East Coast football versus West Coast football. And Bergen Catholic talked about coming all the way over here from New Jersey and how welcomed they were by the Bishop Gorman, not only their team, but their fans, and the whole city is just happy to have them out here.
Yeah, we'll see how welcome they are after kickoff, though, right?
Right, exactly. And that's about to happen here in a few minutes.
Now, Scott, you mentioned a little bit about the facilities out there at Bishop Gorman. We've seen some photos up on MaxPreps. Tell us a little bit more from what you've seen. How impressive are those facilities at Bishop Gorman?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is probably, hands down, the nicest football stadium for a high school I think I've ever seen. It's a completely enclosed stadium. There's walls all the way around it, so the sound just bounces off of it, and it sounds a lot like I would say a college or an NFL game. The decibel level out here is just amazing. They have a state-of-the-art facility right at the end of the end zone, which is their field house and weight room, and it looks like something you see in the NCAA.
Now, Scott, we're going to put you on the spot here. Who do you like tonight? I picked Bergen Catholic. I think most people expect Gorman to win. What's your prediction on the game tonight?
You know, I'm going to have to say that I'm going to go with Bishop Gorman on this one. I'm going to say 24-17 Bishop Gorman.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott Hargrove, reporting from us, one of our MaxPreps reporter. And, you know, I think he just added to that saying the energy that's out there. So definitely these guys are hyped out there getting ready for what is a big game out west. And speaking of big games, that's what we do here at Friday Night Live. We bring you live looks from all the best games from around the country. You said it best when we opened the show. That's one of the things that we have. And right now we're going to take our first live look outside. We've got Manatee versus Miami Central, and this live look right now is brought to us by Play On Sports Network.
And is there any better way to have your first live look in with the #1 team in the country, Manatee and Miami Central? Miami Central giving the Hurricanes quite a run for their money tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is the nation's #1 team. We pegged them as the #1 team in the preseason, and they haven't really done anything to dissuade us from that high ranking. You see here Miami Central's giving them quite a ball game in the fourth quarter. What was really interesting was that Grayson beat Miami Central pretty handily, and so people were kind of looking at this game to be the barometer of Grayson #2, Manatee #1. Can Manatee beat Miami Central the way that Grayson did? And, you know, we see what happened to Grayson tonight, so they're kind of out of that. You know, that's all a moot conversation. You know, if Manatee hangs on to win here, got to think that they'll remain #1. But, yeah, definitely an impressive performance by Central.
How about Central, though? They're Manatee, their first 3 games of the year, they're not exactly shying away from any tough competition. They go Grayson, Booker T, and Central. Pretty tough out-of-the-gates combination of games there.
Well, that's that's kind of how you learn about your team, and that'll help both of these teams come playoff time. Playing a game like this, week 2, week 3, is something that will pay major dividends come playoff time. Manatee is in a loaded Class 7A bracket that features Dwyer, St. Thomas Aquinas. Those 3 teams are kind of the head of the class. And Miami Central is in Class 6A with the likes of Armwood. So a game like this, again, will benefit both of those guys.
And we wanted you, as you continue to look at this live look right here, Manatee is in red, so they're punting right here. Central's going to get the ball back here late in the fourth quarter with a chance to potentially score, maybe an onside kick. We may have ourselves quite a ball game coming down to the final few minutes here in this ball game.
All right, well, there you have that live look that we first provided for you here by Play On Sports Network, where Manatee High is up 37-28. Now, Jason, you've got the top 10 teams for us, right?
I do.
Top 10 teams.
We're going to go over the top 10. I don't actually have the teams here. Well, we're going to have them on the screen. And
I don't want you to have them on you because that would be a lot of heavy lifting, my friend. But we've got a graphic to show you of the top 10 teams.
Now we're talking.
You guys are going to break it down. How's that sound?
We are. There it is. The top 10 teams in the country according to MaxPreps.com and according to our national football editor, right to my left, Steve Spiewak. So if you have any gripes about this, he's the guy to take it up with. So he's at Spiewak on Twitter, so be sure to tweet at him. Right there, #1 in the country.
Why are you giving him a hard time?
Because that's what I do. I like to stir it up a little bit.
There we go.
Right?
I can tell.
I want the #11 team who didn't make this list, Bergen Catholic, to get on them a little bit.
Well, if they win tonight, they will.
Okay. There's your one guarantee so far. Let's run through it real quick. Manatee, #1 in the country. You saw them up 9 against Central. Grayson, they lost. Surely they will drop off this list, at least out of the top 10 next week. #3, Curtis, the Patriots out of River Ridge, Louisiana. Big win last week for them.
A really, really impressive victory by Curtis. They hosted Plant, which was the defending Class 8A state champion in Florida. They won by 30 points, which was about as much of a statement victory as you can make on the high school level, beating a team like Plant that soundly. That moved them from #8 to #3 in the rankings. They could move even higher, especially with the Grayson loss. They have a legendary head coach, JT Curtis, 500 career victories.
Not only did they win by 30, but they were up 27 at the half, so maybe not even as close as a 30-point game. Number 4, Skyline out of Dallas. The Raiders come in your top 5, and then to round it out, Santa Margarita. The Eagles, a big win last week, 55-0, but a big record broken by their quarterback.
Quarterback Johnny Stanton, who's committed to Nebraska, a dual-threat guy nicknamed Johnny Tebow, outstanding player, broke Carson Palmer's all-time school passing record. So tough weekend for the Raiders QB, who lost on Monday Night Football, and that same weekend had his school passing record broken by Johnny Stanton.
Oh, just stick a fork in the guy.
Right, and then to add a little bit to that, next week, who does Santa Margarita play? But they play the Carson Colts. So Carson Palmer getting punched right and left, reminding that he no longer has that record, but he held it for quite a long time. Number 6, Bellevue out of Washington. The Wolverines, as we've talked about early in the season, a lot of these schools play spotlight games from teams out of the state, and that's exactly what they did, and they got a big win over a team from Texas.
Yeah, Bellevue has kind of earned a reputation for slaying big giants from out of state. They ended De La Salle's winning streak in 2004. They beat Long Beach Poly, a Southern California power. But I think even people in Texas were surprised at the outcome when Trinity traveled up and lost to Bellevue in overtime. I think, regardless of how good Bellevue is, I think some people in Texas, it's a team from Washington, and how could a team from Washington beat a team from Texas? But
right.
Bellevue is a legitimate team no matter where you place them on the map in the United States, and that win really moved their stock up.
Once again, a big halftime lead, even in that one, 35-0. Number 7, Burns, the Duncan, South Carolina team. The Rebels at number 7. Number 8, you mentioned them already, De La Salle, once again, a talent factory. Last week, 2 running backs going over 100 yards.
Yeah, wondering if De La Salle is going to be good is basically wondering if are their colors going to be green and white? It's a certainty. They will be one of the top teams in the country. Head coach Bob Laddiser is arguably the top high school football coach in the country, and another very, very good team for De La Salle. They have some offense. You mentioned their ground game, but their defense will really carry this year's squad.
And number 9, Lake Travis out of Austin, Texas. They're on the road tonight at Round Rock Westwood. Running into a little trouble so far.
Yeah, they're down at half, kind of a surprising score thus far, but this is a Lake Travis team that could put up 3 or 4 touchdowns in the blink of an eye. They have one of the most prolific passing attacks in the country. Their former offensive coordinator and head coach, Chad Morris, left to go to the college ranks a few years ago, and he's now actually the offensive coordinator at Clemson. So a bit of a pay raise there, going from Lake Travis to Clemson.
And you mentioned they can score in the blink of an eye. Vashawn Nixon, go to MaxPreps.com. You can see him, a great 88-yard run, including a great block on that run by top 100 offensive lineman Preston Dupree. And then we've talked about Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas. Are playing tonight in the game of the night here on MaxPreps.com.
Guys, thank you very much. Those rankings brought to you by Army National Guard. And coming up, you've got a great story on Joey Bosa for us. And we also have more live looks. So you're watching Max Preps Friday Night Live. Stay tuned.
We all have dreams, but dreams, well, they don't come easy. That's why I put in these hours. Pick up those late night shifts. I know my hard work will pay off. Because I dream of sending my kids to college.
Friday Night Live is coming at you this fall on CBS Sports. From live look-ins to some of the biggest games around the country, to the top plays of the week, to current and former pros as prep stars, and updates on the nation's elite athletes. It's live Friday night action right at your fingertips, whether you're in the bleachers or at home. Friday Night Live is headed your way.